Viewers, welcome back to Rise and Shine Your Life here on Tobago Channel 5. Before we get into chatting with our guest this morning, we just want to remind our viewers of what the discussion is about this morning. So we run a very short clip on just to update you on the topic this morning.
This is a gentleman who will go and stand up by the market and anybody hand him basket, he take it. Somebody writes somewhere that I have 6 houses, a rum shop in Penal and a shopping mall in Holland. Me. Wow. Mr. Speaker, I don't own a tulip or a windmill in Holland. I've never been there since I became a minister. Member for Diego Martin West is the owner of an apartment at 1 Woodbrook Place. I have here, Mr. Speaker, some legal documents suggesting that he's an owner there. You see, I don't own an apartment in 1 Woodbrook Place. I don't own a property in Goodwood Park. I don't own property in Tobago. I live in my mother's house where I was born. You understand? And this property, coincidentally, received outline approval to build when the member for Diego Martin West was Minister of Planning.
Mr. Speaker, that was a project of the City Corporation that overlapped from 1995 into 1996 when the Pandey administration came in, and the project was initiated under the Pandey administration. Mr. Speaker, this motion is frivolous and vexatious. This motion is childish. This motion has no basis. This motion has no purpose. This motion is empty. It is vacuous. It is tenuous. It is absurd. And Mr. Speaker, I am not staying in this parliament to continue this foolish debate. I am leaving now. We're getting out of here. You could say what you want. Whatever you have to say. Whatever you have to say it outside.
Martin George, attorney at law, good morning and welcome to our program. We're talking this morning about the no confidence motion against the opposition.
Good morning to you, and good morning, Eddie, and good morning to our viewers, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is, I think, really a sad day for Trinidad and Tobago to witness what our elected representatives are passing off as parliamentary debate. I think we, the people, really need to draw a line in the sand and tell them enough of this crap. We really need to put a stop to it.
And I wonder this morning, is it comedy? I'm not sure.
It's not even comedy. It's a tragedy. It is a serious tragedy because, in other words, if this is the level that they are taking debate in Parliament to, then why should we take anything they ever say again seriously? I mean, the point is, first of all, you look at the whole genesis of this idea of the no confidence motion, and you realize that it is something that was stillborn from the get-go. There was absolutely no political objective that you could obtain except maybe to demonize someone. All right, you heard reporters asking the Prime Minister as she entered the Parliament yesterday, what is the long-term political objective? And she could not answer. All she said is, well, so that the people will get information. Seriously? These are things that if you are really believe in them, you could say them on a political platform if they are of any relevance. You don't need to take up valuable parliament time to do this when there's absolutely no legislative or legal objective you could achieve. In other words, okay, you pass a no confidence motion, you have the majority, okay, so the motion is carried. What then? Mr. Oli remains opposition leader. There's absolutely no legislative or legal end game that you can achieve. It's only for the purpose of, as I say, demonizing someone, which you're fully entitled to do on the political platform. But to take the public's time and money and energy and be wasting it in the Parliament, I have a serious problem with that. And then, of course, you had Ms. Vanilla Allen-Toppin, who I think has brought parliamentary debate to maybe its lowest point to date, you know, because maybe they could get lower, you know, but I mean, I think certainly she has done a tremendous disservice to herself.
Was that the place to have that discussion? Was that the place, whether or not her information is true?
Well, the thing
that's not the issue, but
I am
was
not
that
even sure there's any place to have that discussion. First of all, you ask yourself in terms of questions of relevance, is it that she was seeking to have, criminal charges, investigated or preferred against someone? Let's be realistic. What is your purpose for doing this? Even if, as you say, even if you put it at its highest and it's true, then there's really no legal or, as I say, legislative basis for bringing up that kind of information. And it is, I think it is really a very, very sad reflection on how far we have come in terms of sinking to this new low. It is abhorrent that in the year 2015, this is the quality and level of our parliamentary discourse.
Mr. George, do you think that is the appropriate time for parliamentary privilege to be revised, so that some of the things that are said there should not be said at all?
Well, I wouldn't blame the system, because in other words, there's a reason why you give parliamentary privilege. I think what we need to revise is the persons we have in the parliament. Those are the ones that we need to change, not the system. This system works perfectly in developed and civilized countries.
Okay, so how we go about changing the system to get it correct?
No, that's what I keep saying. It's not the system we need to change. We need to change the people.
Getting the correct people.
An election is coming up, and that's what we have to do. But then, of course, the dilemma, and this is another tragedy for Trinidad and Tobago, is that we are basically impaled on the horns of a dilemma, in that you have 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. So, the choices are really limited. This election is a PNM-UNC election. That's all it really is. You choose one or the other. That's the reality. So that again presents another tragedy for Trinidad and Tobago, in that unfortunately you have not had any credible alternative which has come forth in any sustainable manner. You had the COP, which had a very short life, in that at one point they did express some kind of independence, but now under the leadership of Prakash Ramadar, they have absolutely no separate identity. They are basically the mouthpiece for the UNC. It's like, one of those wind-up toys. So whenever the Prime Minister wants, she winds up Mr. Ramadar, you turn the big key at the back, and she just trots him out, and he goes up, yap, 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 right? Says what she wants him to say, and then he goes back, and, he's, well-fed and, looking very happy and healthy. So obviously he plays his role and he gets his reward. So therefore, there's nothing as an independent entity called COP anymore, right? Then you had the fallout from that. You have Miss Nicole Dyer-Griffith and her husband. They are now speaking of, an alliance of independence, but they have not formed a political party. And in Trinidad and Tobago scenario, if you don't have a political party, you have no mileage whatsoever, so nobody takes you seriously. So until they decide what they want to do, they're not even worth considering. So it's really a tragedy for Trinidad and Tobago, because when you pare it down to the bare minimum, it comes back down to PNM-UNC. Even the illusion that you all persist with here in Tobago of a party called the TOP. You saw Mr. Ashworth Van Winkle, after his long slumber, it appears that he awoke Monday night and appeared on a platform. Somebody maybe gave him some smelling salts, and he awoke and he showed up on a platform in Trinidad and made some comments. But again, the same scenario, a wind-up toy. The Prime Minister turns the big key in his back, and he comes out and and then he goes back to sleep. This occurred after the 2013 THA elections. Sometimes when you were small and your parents give you a good licking, you get a good sleep after that. Well, he's been sleeping ever since that election. So there's nothing called the TOP anymore. So you are really down to a PNM-UNC scenario. And I think both parties have, on various occasions, disappointed the public in Trinidad and Tobago. And unless we, the people, start calling for a raising of the bar and a lifting of the standard of representation, debate, discussion, let's discuss issues, please. idea of attacking persons and attacking personalities will get us nowhere. There will be no end to this, because basically you have 41 members in the House of Representatives. So if you want to, you could find something bad to say about everybody there if you want to. And that takes the nation nowhere, because you're talking in a scenario where you have fallen oil and gas prices, and you have a member of parliament speaking of something that may have occurred maybe 40, 50, 60 years ago, of which there's absolutely, does she have any police records? Does she have any, documented evidence to substantiate what she's saying? So, I mean, is there any relevance or bearing to that in terms of national issues? Let us be realistic, Trinidad and Tobago.
And I'm glad you mentioned documentary evidence, because when I was talking about, in my mind, the revision of parliamentary privilege, that is what, what's going on in my mind, that you had evidence, that something has occurred, and you brought it there rather than just being frivolous or hearing somebody say it on the street corner. And bring it as a fact in Parliament.
But the point is, remember, it goes both ways, because the same way that Dr. Rowley has mentioned on the platform, at least, he didn't use the cloak of parliamentary privilege, but he's hinted in relation to Dr. Munilal about something about a mall in Holland. Then my point is, we the people, we must call upon them to say, hey, listen, don't be making these vague and specious remarks unless you have presented some sort of evidence. Are you saying that Dr. Munilal owns a mall in Holland? Produce your evidence, produce that so that people can see. And then, of course, okay, even if he owns it, he could have come about it legitimately. Sure. So then the only reason why you would raise it is if you are saying that he has acquired it by dishonest means. Provide the proof. Otherwise, why make these, broad blandishments on the platform and you're not supporting it? But as I say, it goes both ways. It's just that I think what we witnessed yesterday was a new lowering of the bar. I always recall Dr. Selwyn Ryan, describing our politicians as being in a race to the bottom. In other words, to see who can be of even lower class and lower, they're lowering the bar all the time. And I think, wow, we saw something yesterday that is just unbelievable.
And final question here. We've got just about a minute, Mr. George. How do we begin to clean this up? How does the government, how do our MPs, how does the Prime Minister begin to even start cleaning this up, if she can?
Well, no, that's not the question. If she wants to. Because the point is, I'm not sure there's the political will at all on either side to really clean this up and lift the debate. Because obviously, if it is that you as the Prime Minister, you sit there and you hear your member go to these depths and you say nothing to stop her or to disassociate your party or your government from it, then you are very much a part and parcel of it. And today, I personally must express my disappointment in that. And I think we, the people, must express our deep disappointment in where our leaders are taking us. This is not where Trinidad and Tobago wants to go. This is not going to take us forward in any way. Can you imagine? We are having a meeting with President Obama in a few weeks. And this is the type of debate we are carrying on with in Trinidad and Tobago. Really?
Okay.
Are these world issues?
All right, but we've got to leave it there. But viewers can catch more of what Mr. George has to say, hopefully on our 6:30 newscast later this evening. We'd love to hear more of what he has to say on this and other issues. So thank you so much, Mr. George, for being with us.
It's always a pleasure.
Viewers, we've got to take a break. When we come back this morning, we will be chatting with Mr. Kurt Silandi and Ms. Agnes Webb. And they're going to chat with us about a collaborative effort by stakeholders in Tobago to put forward a forum, a very interesting forum for all of Tobago. So stay tuned. Join us just after this.